How do you set these like goals? Like, do you, obviously, like in my opinion, a goal should be, reached about 80% of the time. Otherwise, not as ambitious as it could be. But then, do you look at external factors? How much external benchmarks? How much are other companies growing? Or, do you set your targets based on your ambition, based on your funding, based on your, business model and sales cycle? How do you look at setting those strategies?
Okay, so how do you look at setting strategies and the priorities with that?
Yeah.
Great question. Well, first of all, the exercise you need to do first, that's the one that I just shared with you. You create a vision of the company in like 3 years. Together with the team, you create like a perfect vision of what your company could be.
And that's just based on your ambition and your internal
not only ambition, but also you look at what the size of the market is, what are competitors doing, what is the client need, how many, but you look at the potential of the market. And then you agree that this is what you can be in 3 to 5 years. This is different than like the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal. Like this is your dream goal. Equidon wants to be the largest in the world well, it says here to measure, track, and grow business values for startup companies around the world. That's the BHAG. That's great because that's like the magnet for the future. But the 3 to 5 years assessment is you create a real clear picture of what you will be, and that is based upon the potential of the company. That is different than trying to build your strategy plan based upon where you are now. Because in the first situation, you look at the potential. In the second situation, you look at your limitations. Because you say, okay, we are doing like 2 million, but we know how difficult it is to get salespeople or to get developers so this is why creating a strategy based upon your limitations always ends up in growth of 15-20% instead of 50, 100, 200%.
Yeah.
So what you then need to do, you need to have a clear view on where you want to be in 3 to 5 years, and then you start to calculate back.
Yeah.
And then you figure out, we can never grow to our potential unless we are able to scale in 3 or 4 countries, to get a sales team of 6 people, to get developers. And then what you're doing is you're focusing on solving the constraints of your growth. You're focused on solving them, because each question, okay, then in which country do we need developers? Is it in the Netherlands? Is it in the Ukraine? Is it in? So you solve that problem, and then you solve the problem. Okay, how are we going to get them? How are we going to pay them? How are we going to communicate with them? You solve it differently. Instead of starting with your limitations, you start on the potential.
So you unleash growth by removing limitations instead of like sort of trying to engineer it and work on what you have right now.
Exactly, and the point is, it's a systematic process. It is not like okay, we're going to solve the problem. It's a systematic process. Yeah. It's like a very smart, logical thing to do. Yeah. And then what you do is you figure out, okay, what is now the most important thing that we need to solve for this quarter? Because what's happening in a year, you don't exactly know, or in 2 years, you don't exactly know. The only thing you can do is what is the must-win battle? What is the most important constraint that we need to now resolve to get to the potential? Yeah. And there's 2 different things. You have the regular business, but these are the things that are important to get to the next stage. So for the regular business, you have your KPIs and your growth and your sales and your activities, your marketing. But these are the things that you need to do to get to the next level. Yeah. So that requires special attention, special responsibility, and also a special KPI.
And I guess it's also the way to limit the risk of growth as much as possible, right? Because still, like, choosing an ambitious, growth strategy that like expands you to several countries and wants to get you to like a unicorn startup or things like that has its own risk compared to like keeping on doing your regular activities, growing 15-20% a year, and being sure about your bank account.
True, and the other thing is, while running your current business, that is always more important than working on the thing that is now less urgent but more important for the future. This is what we started our conversation with. And then what happens, the moment you start working, you open your laptop every morning, all the mails come and the clients and the questions, and at the end of the day you have not worked on what is most important to get the company to the next level. And that means that your company stays at the level where you're in.
But in your experience, do you have two departments, like one that focuses on like making what you have already going, and the other?
It's not only departments, it's more responsibilities of people.
Yeah.
So it's not like you separate, this is today's business and this is future business, but you make sure that you identify the things that are most important for the company to reach its next goal, in line of what you want to be 3 to 5 years, in line to the big hairy goal that you have for 20 years. And then you decide, okay, let's say finding a person that can help us with starting a development office in Montenegro. That is like the key thing we need to solve now, or else we're never going to have a development office in 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
So you appoint that, you identify the priority, you appoint that to a person, and then you make it something that everybody holds that person accountable for. So everybody knows that is very important. So you create a sort of like a collective knowledge and a collective insight in what is most important for the company. And that person will have a KPI that is, for instance, the amount of calls that he made to potential people. So you put it on a board, and so you have like 3 or 4 different of those priorities. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly how every meeting then is started. Okay, what is the progress on those priorities? Yeah. So everybody knows what's going on. Instead of, so you make it smart, you make it measurable, you make it clear to everybody.
Yeah. Okay, and I guess these processes then, when the company is smaller, like they're gonna be easier as well. Like you probably don't need to put it on the wall, like everybody knows anyway, because you're meeting and having lunch every day.
No,
but still they should be there.
I would always put it on the wall.
Okay.
I would always make it very clear and visible, and so there's absolutely no question in everybody's head, what is the most important thing our company needs to do right now?
Okay.
Is it something in marketing? Is it hiring the next person? Is it an update on the system? The more insight and commitment you create with the whole team, the better it is and the smoother things go.